Many years ago, there was a woodcutter's cottage in a little clearing a mile or so within a forest. The woodcutter had died, but his widow still lived there quite happily with her two daughters, Snow White and Rose Red. One very cold winter, an enormous bear came knocking at the cottage door. Normally, it is wise to keep away from bears, which are extremely big and strong. However, this bear spoke in a human voice and called out and asked if he could shelter by the cottage fire. The snow was blowing a blizzard, and for sure the bear would perish if it stayed outside. So the mother of Snow White and Rose Red said the bear might come in and keep warm. They opened the door and the bear entered. For all its huge size, the bear was gentle and well behaved. Snow White and Rose Red brushed the snow from its fur, and the bear slept by the fire and departed in the morning. Every night during that bitter winter, the bear came to the cottage for shelter. He and the two girls became quite friendly. Then spring came. The snow stopped falling, and the frosts were not so hard. One morning the bear said, "I must go back to my haunts in the deepest woodlands. I shall not come to visit you again until winter." As he left, a strange thing happened. He caught his fur on the door latch and tore it, and underneath the fur it seemed to Snow White that she saw the gleam of gold. One day in the summertime, they were out picking berries and saw a dwarf with his beard caught in a tree trunk. The dwarf was shouting and tugging and beating on the tree and was really in a state of great distress. The two girls hurried closer. "Can we help do anything?" they asked kindly. "Of course you can," snapped the dwarf. Rose Red suddenly remembered that she had a pair of scissors in her pocket. She took them out and snipped off the end of the dwarf's beard. "There, you are free," she said, thinking the dwarf would be pleased. "You horrid girl! Fancy cutting my beautiful beard," he snarled. "Be off with you before I really lose my temper." Actually, he was not really cross. He wanted to drive the girls away so that they would not see the treasure he had found in the tree trunk. He did not want to share any of the gold pieces with anyone. The girls hurried away and thought no more of the cross little dwarf until some weeks later. Then they were gathering wild herbs near a river when they heard shouting and splashing and saw the same dwarf. He had been fishing and had hooked a very large fish, but in the struggle the dwarf's beard had become tangled in the fishing line. Now it seemed that the fish might pull the dwarf into the river. Taking her scissors from her pocket, Rose Red stepped forward and snipped the dwarf's beard from the fishing line. Again, instead of being grateful, the dwarf was angry. "Couldn't you have thought of a better way of saving me than cutting my beard?" he shouted. "Go away, you silly creatures." This time the dwarf had a bag of pearls and didn't want to share any with the girls, even though they had undoubtedly saved his life. One would have thought that by now the girls would not do a good turn for anyone. But a few days later they saw a creature struggling in the talons of an eagle. At once they caught at the unfortunate struggling victim and after a terrific tussle pulled it free. It was the dwarf. This time the dwarf was right outside the entrance to his treasure cave, and he was afraid the girls might glimpse all of the riches inside. "You have torn my clothes to tatters, pulling me like that," said the ungrateful little dwarf. He began to beat the girls with a stick, hoping to drive them away. But he chose just the wrong moment. The bear was passing and heard the cries of Snow White and Rose Red. He ran up and felled the dwarf with one blow. Then there was a flash of light, and the bear's skin fell away to reveal a king dressed in gold. How happy he was! I never knew which dwarf had put the spell on me, he said, but as I am free, it must have been this one. Had it not been for you two girls calling to me, goodness knows when I should have managed to break the spell this dwarf cast on me so that he could steal my treasures. The king shared the riches from the dwarf's cave with the girls. In fact, the king married Snow White, and his brother married Rose Red, and they all lived happily ever after.